The circus slid into town on a humid Wednesday night, so quietly that the only warning was the sudden appearance of posters on lampmasts and storefront windows, crimson lettering on cheap yellow paper that read simply, Cosmos and CO, Wonders of Earth and Else. No date, no price, just an arrow that pointed toward the old freight yard by the river, abandoned since the mills folded in the 80s. By sunrise the next morning, gaudy tents bloomed between rusting boxcars. A Ferris wheel spun in slow rehearsal, its seats rattling like old bones. Miriam Temple, freelance journalist and self-declared myth chaser, arrived on opening night with a press badge, a micro-recorder, and the kind of curiosity that edged towards self-harm, while families clustered near cotton candy stands and couples queued for the Tunnel of Thunder. She circled the perimeter, noting the performers. A tattooed contortionist stretching her spine over a barrel, identical twins in mirror-polished masks juggling knives. A man on stilts whose coat pockets leaked glitter with every step. She found the manager in a tired caravan plastered with stamps from cities foreign and domestic. The placard on the door said simply, R. Cosmos. Inside, Monsieur Cosmos sat at a wrought iron desk, all angles and pale expanses of scalp under thinning white hair. He reminded Miriam of an owl topped with a bowler hat. When she flashed her credentials, he did not ask which paper she wrote for, only requested that she spell his name correctly. People like to add an extra S, he lamented, sliding tickets across the desk. Remove one. Both are insulting. Miriam asked about highlights. He drummed his fingers and smiled with a dealer's secrecy. Our acts change with each town. But since you are press, yes, you should sample the olfactory pavilion. 7th tent from the main gate. Do go now before the first rush. The experience is intimate. She left with a curl of apprehension. Olfactory pavilion sounded like another scented candle scam, yet she headed there all the same. One did not chase myths by staying in the safe seats. The pavilion looked small from the outside, a striped yurt with a painted sign, Hall of Smells, discover your truest self. An attendant in a lavender waistcoat lifted the flap for her. Inside, the air was cool, the light low and wine-colored, rows of frosted glass bottles perched on ebony shelves. No labels, no prices, just empty brass incense bowls set upon marble plinths. A woman in a high-collared black dress stood beside a lectern. Her hair flickered with red henna under the lanterns. Her eyes held Miriam's the way a noose holds a neck. Welcome, she said, voice velvet and oddly distant. The pavilion offers scents curated for the soul. Choose one. Inhale deeply. What follows belongs only to you. A warning hid in her smile. Miriam fingered her recorder in her jacket pocket. May I ask your name? They call me Parlor. She pronounced it like an old-fashioned room. Interviews after the experience, please. She gestured toward the shelves. Miriam walked the aisle, uncorking bottles at random. Garden soil after rain, sin sugar, a grandmother's closet of cedar and lavender. Then some deep instinct halted her hand at a narrow vial of pale green glass. Instead, a sharp metallic scent rushed at her, wet iron, the latent electricity of a summer storm, the smell of the river at dusk, the night her brother Daniel had vanished almost 20 years ago. The memory sliced her with surgeon precision. She was 11 again, skipping stones, Daniel daring her to venture out on the rotted pier. A sudden scream, a splash, then only ripples widening under the orange streetlight. His body was never found. Her life diverged into before and after. Miriam's knees weakened. She nearly dropped the vial. Parla caught it neatly and replaced the stopper. Yours, she said. Shall we proceed? Miriam considered leaving, writing fluff about juggling twins and calling it a night. But the river smell clung to her nostrils, and along with it rose a low, insistent pulse in her chest, a hunting drum of grief unresolved. Fine, she said. What do I do? Parla led her to a plinth at the pavilion's center, where a single brass bowl waited. "Pour 3 drops. Light the charcoal." She handed over a silver striker. When the coals glowed, Miriam uncorked the vial again. The scent seemed thicker, like liquid shadow curling up her sleeves. She shook 3 drops onto the charcoal. Smoke burst, clear as blown glass, then spiraled into a shape, a spindly silhouette perched on the rim of the bowl. It opened luminous eyes, the color of rust and rain. Miriam sucked breath. Perched before her was a small figure, no taller than a crow, composed of vaporous dark, edged by glints of silver scales. Its grin was all needle teeth. Parlow bowed slightly, as though to a visiting dignitary. "Your attendant has arrived." "What is that?" "Your demon," Parlow replied. "Only you can see it. It comes hungry." The shape flicked a forked tongue at Miriam's face. Her mind presented words unbidden. Naiad, Ripper, Undertow. But its name surfaced clear as a popped bubble. Scylla. She did not know how she knew, but the knowledge rooted itself like a burr. Scylla studied her with head-tilted curiosity, then leapt from the bowl. It landed on Miriam's shoulder, surprisingly solid. Its skin felt like water under ice-cold, and yet living. A gong sounded beyond the pavilion walls. Parlow straightened. "The circus begins," she said. "The demon will linger until dawn, unless you feed it." "Feed it what?" "Memories, naturally. That is their nourishment and their price. Starve it and it takes what it wishes. Offer it something small and it may leave sated." She folded her hands. "That is all. Good luck." She moved to greet new patrons. Miriam tried to intercept her, but Scylla tightened tiny claws through her jacket, steering her toward the exit. The demon's voice slid into her ear, a watery hiss layered with children's whispers. "Show me," it said. "Show me more of the night river." Out in the open midway, lights whirled like mechanical fireflies. Calliope music blared. Scylla clung to her nape, invisible to the crowds. Miriam swallowed panic. She needed rules, boundaries, some explanation beyond personal demon. Yet if she ran, the creature would remain. Hungry. Memory Parlor had said, "Give it something small, a trade." Miriam exhaled. "Fine," she muttered. "We negotiate." She ducked behind a stack of crates near the bearded lady stage. "You want the river memory? It's not for you." Her voice quavered. "Take something else. My first bicycle ride. My ex-boyfriend's middle name. Hell, take the taste of black coffee," the demon considered, eyes flickering. "Not bitter beans. Show me what he said before the fall. The brother. No." The old fear flared hot. She shook her head. "Not negotiable." Scylla's grin widened like a cut. "Dawn is hours away." Miriam marched back toward the pavilion. Inside, Parla was mixing vials for a teenaged boy. Miriam waited until the boy vanished behind drapes, then gripped Parla's sleeve. "And I need information. Now. How do I get rid of it?" Parlo sighed, set aside her flask. "You have 2 options. Feed it a memory meaningful enough, or outlast it until sunrise when demons dissipate. Simple as breathing. Difficult as truth. Can I trade with someone else? Give it a stranger's memory? That is theft. Demons know the difference. They feast only on what belongs to their summoner." Miriam glanced at Scylla, perched on a shelf, tail lashing glass vials that chimed like bells. Suppose I keep it hungry. What happens at sunrise? A starving demon departs, but scarred. Next time it is summoned, it may come enraged, less bound by courtesy. If you never return, perhaps you are safe. But Cosmos spins strange orbits. Miriam bit her lip. What if I kill it? It is made of your past. Kill it, and you unravel pieces of yourself. Some try. None enjoy the results. Parla returned to her work. "I empathize, truly. But commerce is commerce." So Miriam left, the creature padding across her collarbones, tugging stubbornly at her thoughts. Remember, remember. The word pulsed against her skull. She remembered Daniel's grin, lopsided from the chip in his front tooth. She remembered him calling her Mim, daring her to steal firecrackers from Dad's toolbox. She remembered the night at the river, the fight they had beforehand. He had wanted to leave town, ride freight trains like folk song hobos. She had threatened to tell Mom. He'd run off toward the water, furious. Then the scream. Scylla drank in these flashes without permission, and Miriam felt each sip as a cold pinch behind the eyes. She cursed and ducked into the nearest tent. The mirror menagerie. Maybe distraction would help her shield memories. Maybe she simply needed darkness. The tent shimmered with floor-length mirrors angled to infinity. Visitors wove between them, gasping at reflections that stretched or folded. Scylla hopped onto a mirror's frame, peering at its own twin, an echo of smoke on glass. Its tail flicked serpentine. Reflections behind the demon showed Daniel, age 15, water dripping from his bangs. Miriam jolted back. In the next mirror, Daniel, aged 20, alive, laughing on a beach she had never visited. Another mirror, Daniel, 40, cradling a toddler. The images rippled like film frames. The demon's voice. All the lives you never knew he'd have. Taste them. Miriam's throat constricted. Heat blurred her vision. She pressed both palms against the image, desperate to step through. Only cold glass. Enough, she rasped. Not here, Scylla chirred, amused. More. She fled the mirror tent and burst into the central midway. Something whizzed overhead. Jets of flame as acrobats fired themselves across gaps. Popcorn and diesel smoke tangled in the air, yet everything tasted ash. She needed allies. This circus had to employ magicians, frauds or not. She spotted the knife-juggling twins, identical down to their wristbands, performing near the snake charmer. When their set ended, Miriam cornered them backstage. "I need help with a demon," she blurted. The twins exchanged a glance. The left twin, perhaps older by minutes, tilted his mask to reveal a freckled cheek. "Which scent?" he asked. "River storm." Her voice trembled. He hissed between teeth. "Memory fiends," he whispered. The right one drew his coat around him. "We cannot interfere. Pavilion demons are bound contracts. But there is a loophole." His eyes, dark as char, met hers. "If you invite someone to share the memory willingly, the demon divides its hunger between you. The burden halves, possibly enough to satisfy it without consuming you entirely." Miriam swallowed. "You're suggesting I find another person and, what, relive that night together?" "A witness lends weight," Left Twin said. "But the witness must choose freely, no deception." As they spoke, Scylla wrapped its tail around Miriam's throat, affronted at inclusion of others. It birthed a vision. Daniel, submerged under murk, reaching upward, skin the color of milk. Miriam choked, staggered. The twins recoiled. "We have said too much," Right Twin murmured. They melted into backstage gloom. Miriam coughed air back into her lungs. She fled toward the Ferris wheel. The line was short. Perhaps quiet altitude would help her think. She climbed into a carriage alone. The wheel lurched upward, squealing. At the apex, city lights shivered beyond the river. Wind whipped her hair. Scylla crouched on the railing, balancing like a gull. "Show me," it pleaded, voice smaller, almost lonely. "Show me what you regret the most." Miriam felt the night tug at her bones, pulling backwards through years. She pressed fingertips to eyelids, letting memory surface, but not break free. When she lowered her hands, she saw a girl 2 carriages ahead, holding tight to the lap bar. Maybe 17, tense, traveling alone. Something about her hunched shoulders, the way she stared at the ground, sparked recognition of old sorrow. Miriam called out over the creaks. "Hey, you okay?" The girl lifted startled eyes. She shook her head faintly, tears silver in the carnival lights. Miriam's carriage descended. The girls rose opposite. They passed, exchanged glances, heavy with unsaid truths. An idea clicked witness. She might share weight with this stranger. But was it ethical to lure someone into demon bargains? She exhaled. Tasted iron. The demon's claws dug deeper. If she did nothing, at sunrise she'd be hollow as a flayed fruit. The wheels stopped to unload. Miriam waited at the exit. The girl approached, wiping cheeks with sleeve. "Hi," Miriam said gently. "I'm Miriam." She gestured to a nearby bench. "Want to sit? You look as though you could use a break." The girl hesitated, then nodded. They sat among discarded popcorn tubs. Scylla perched on the bench's slat, invisible to the girl, watching like a patient cat. "What's your name?" Miriam asked. "Lena." Her voice was hoarse. Up close, she seemed younger. 16? A bruise purpled her left collarbone. Miriam's stomach twisted. "Rough night?" Lena hugged her jacket. "Ran away this morning. Think my dad's looking. But not because he cares. Just needs someone to blame." Miriam studied her scabbed knuckles, cheap suitcase, tucked by her sneakers. She thought of Daniel's chipped tooth, his restless eyes. "Listen," Miriam began, heart hammering. "I'm tangled in something strange tonight, something that feeds on painful memories. If we share, it might stop hurting. I can't promise, but would you be willing to listen to my story and maybe tell me yours? Pure choice. I'll understand if you say no." Lena frowned at the ground as though reading a hidden script there. Minutes passed, thick with carnival noise. Finally, she lifted her chin. "If it helps you deal with pain, maybe it helps me too." "Sure. Let's share." The demon hissed frustration. Sharing diluted its feast. Miriam ignored it. They moved behind the fortune-teller tent, where strings of bulbs hummed like bees. Miriam drew a deep breath. "When I was 11, my brother Daniel disappeared. We fought. He ran to the river pier. I heard him scream. I was too scared to go after him. I never forgave myself." As she spoke, images poured from her. The cracked pier boards under her sneakers, the smell of algae, the slap of water closing over a body. Scylla hovered, smoke swirling, drinking greedily. Yet its teeth looked less sharp. Lena's turn. She told of beatings disguised as discipline, nights locked in a tool shed, the taste of rust from biting her tongue so she wouldn't scream. She told of leaving after her father broke her mother's wrist for calling the police. While Lena spoke, Miriam felt the demon's pull lessen, as though the weight was indeed splitting, diluted by empathy's solvent. Slowly, when both stories drained to silence, Scylla floated before them, form fuller than before. Its outline glimmered like moonlit surf. It bowed to Lena, forked tongue, flicking thanks, then faced Miriam. "I am fed," it whispered in both their minds. It touched her forehead with a cool talon. She braced for pain. Instead, warmth like river water under summer sun, forgiving. Then the demon broke apart into mist and drifted upward into the night, dissolving among carnival lights. Miriam shuddered. The absence of weight felt almost vertiginous. She checked her memory. Daniel at the river remained clear, still sorrowful, but the visceral guilt, the repeating loop of self-blame, had quieted. The demon had taken the edge, not the core. Lena exhaled. "I felt something leave." "Me too." Miriam rubbed damp cheeks. "Thank you. You chose to carry part of it. That means more than I can say." Lena's first tired smile cracked across her face. "Guess sharing helps." Miriam fished a card from her wallet. "I have a friend who runs a support shelter in the city. They can arrange housing, help with legal stuff. Call this number. They won't judge." She pressed the card into Lena's hand. Lena pocketed it, eyes wet again. Then she surprised them both by leaning in and hugging Miriam quick, fierce. "Take care of yourself," she whispered, before disappearing into the crowd. Miriam watched her go, chest aching with a different kind of emotion, something like hope. She wandered back to the olfactory pavilion. The night had thinned. Only a few patrons remained. Parlor met her at the entrance, eyebrow raised. "You return unburdened." "Partially," Miriam said. "I shared the meal." Parlor's lips curved. Clever. She uncorked a blue bottle, letting lavender drift between them. Most gorge on ego. Few think to invite company. "I want to know what these demons really are," Miriam said. "Why do you traffic them?" Parla's gaze slid toward the tents. "Some traumas cannot be spoken, only scented. We provide translators. Commerce is incidental." "That's a convenient philosophy." Parla shrugged. "Meaning often hides in convenience." Miriam reached into her pocket, found the vial of river storm still there. Apparently empty yet cool to the touch. She held it out. "Keep it. I'm done." Parla closed her fingers over Miriam's hand, pushing the vial back. "Souvenirs belong to travelers. May serve you again, should memory hunger return." Miriam almost protested, but sensed that more words would tangle them both. She tucked the vial away. Outside, the Ferris wheel lights dimmed. Axe wound down. She headed for the exit, passing our Cosmos himself surveying the grounds with paternal satisfaction. He tipped his bowler hat. "Did our circus treat you kindly, Miss Temple?" She considered. Night air smelled of grass, diesel, and distant thunderstorms. Yet inside her chest, space had opened for cleaner winds. "It did," she said, "but I think I treated myself kinder." Cosmos's owl eyes gleamed. "A fine distinction." She stepped beyond the gate. Behind her, the circus hummed, unaware of dawn creeping up the horizon. The freight yard gravel crunched under her boots, each step firm, unghosted. At the river bridge, she halted. Mist curled off the water exactly as she remembered. She uncorked the vial and let the last trace of storm metal scent drift free. It rose, caught moonlight, then vanished. "Bye, Danny," she whispered. The river answered with quiet, endless laps at its banks. Miriam turned and walked toward town, memories intact, sorrow gentled. A path ahead clear as new morning.